今天是2021年3月11号，美国东部时间下午7点，北京时间3月12号早上8点。今天我第一次听到说，有川普4月份归来。那我在这里把那个最原始的那个消息，原味的消息，在这里给大家播放一下。要不然你听到的总是别人翻译的，或者说二手的，与其听别人翻译的，还不如听自己第一手的。哦，我现在把那个对话那个调出来啊，等一下。怎么不出来呢？怎么不出来呢？怎么不出来呢？失败了哦，这个对话窗出来，对话的窗出不来。这是怎么回事呢？Refresh。好，应该有了，有了。哎，怎么又不见了呢？奇怪，奇怪。 打一个字看看。出不来，出不来，Ctrl 丢 OBS。怎么出不来呢？奇怪，我把这个关了看看。我把主窗口关了，对话窗口也没有了。看来这个是。这个，哎，有一些也出不来。不知道什么原因。这个 Jet Browser，我把它换一下，不要这个了。我也不相信出不来。 OK，字有点小。我把这个声音关掉就可以了。整一下。啊。OK。OK。现在我来放那个。
Well, I want to have you weigh in, if you will, briefly on the impeachment hoax too, the fiasco and farce that's taking place now on the television sets in America and around the world. In a nutshell, what's your comments about this impeachment?
One quick thing, I was able to listen to a portion of what you guys had before I was able to get on just a minute ago, and I thought that was a well done assessment of some of the information that's going on that got us here in this history. And I appreciate that it takes a lot of work to get your thoughts together and present it like that. And I will actually go back and review that again later. I think that was very well done. So, my hat tip to you on that. So this is theater. We're watching the other side present how they think the world should work. People being shut up, evidence not actually being heard, only one side of the evidence. In fact, I would portray it this way. If you have a crooked judge and a crooked prosecutor, they're trying to have a fixed trial with a known outcome. In any event, any hanging judge kind of a court setting, that's the way Congress is operating right now. That's what, the fix is in. And so you're hearing the other side present all their stuff, and if they have their way, our side won't really get a chance to say anything. Even though you've had President Trump's attorneys present something, even what they presented was somewhat colored, tainted, twisted. You put tinted glasses on and it colors your view of the world. So the attorneys were responding within that twisted world of perception where some things aren't even on the table quite right. I would go primarily to this riot that took place at Congress, which is really the whole point of this thing, was the president inciting crowds to come and riot and be destructive in their protests. And, that these protesters did everything they did based on the president's comments and the community that showed up. Now, look, I was there, and you can make video look a certain way. Even the players that showed up to do the things they did, there's very serious questions about, are they actually this Trump supporting community? This, it's mentioned Q. Is this even a fair representation of the Q community? And I would contend that it is nothing approaching a fair representation of this community. Now, I mentioned the other day on one of the rioters who broke in, the guy that's got the horned hat on and then the fur cape on. And on his chest, he has these three pyramid shapes on him. And it's purported to be a Norse fighting thing and everything else, and he's a true patriot, and he's really on our team. Well, we also have images out there that are purported to be him and others in a green room doing some of what we're seeing and practicing and setting it up. Is that really green room shots? Is that somebody that's photoshopped something? We know that there's all sorts of imagery, this Castle Rock studio stuff over there at the Amazon facility out in LA, and a fake White House. Is that being actually shot in Washington, D.C., or is it being shot other places? Certainly at the Capitol or at the Washington, D.C. White House. We actually have to say it that way. The Washington, D.C. White House or the Hollywood White House? In the Washington, D.C. White House, they've been shutting off the lights like it's on a timer at 11 o'clock at night. Who's shutting off the lights? I mean, they shut it off, like you just left the warehouse and nobody's there anymore. That's the, national Capitol. It's quite bizarre. And when you think about that, and then Air Force Two used, well, it's too short of a runway up there in Delaware, and he's going home for a little vacation, and they just used the little plane to get in and out there. Well, if you're using the little plane, are you also using rental vans to move President Biden around? Did you see the Suburban that shows up? And the thing's dirty. It's got watermarks all over. You don't move the President of the United States around in an old junker Suburban with dirt on the tires. That thing is pristine. It's a jewel. It's intended to be spotless at all times. And then the guys guarding it, not wearing slacks. They're not Secret Service pressed and trim and proper in anything approaching a military crispness that's standard. You got the blue jeans on and the street shoes on, and they're not even polished. Something is wrong. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that. Now, all of that, John, to say, who knows what? Why don't we know more? Because this is not a situation where even people very close to the president have been read in, know precisely what's happening. There are firewalls on the information, even people that have been in the room repeatedly with them over the last many months. It's my contention that you're going to have a few of them that get a little bit butthurt because they feel like they should have known if there was a plan. They should have been dialed in on it because they're so close. Yes, they're loyal to the president. They're loyal to you and me, John. These are our friends and neighbors. These are true patriots. They aren't bad guys. Even there, they weren't read in all the way because need to know is just that, need to know. If you didn't need to know, even just you think you need to know, that doesn't mean that from the other side of the equation, you actually truly do need to know. No leaks. We are in a nation state level fight. The people that came to steal our election were really literally other nations trying to control who we vote in as a leader. It was a digital Pearl Harbor on America. Now, if you believe that, if you understand that, if you grasp the magnitude of that type or level of a threat against us, if they, at a military level, decide not to share that even with trusted civilians, even with trusted military that are only now operating on the civilian side of things, that's because they're protecting the next moves, the bigger moves. And with the nation state at stake, with America at stake, with the world at stake, there's no room for a single point failure. You can't take the chance. So I would say that we all have to kind of put our big boy pants on. We have to
seems like we've lost Juan Savin.
Are we there? Did I get you back?
You're back. You're back, sir. You're back.
All right. with as much at stake in this casino royale for the whole planet, with so much at stake, we cannot be so thin-skinned as to think that we all have to know precisely what's happening next. From a military standpoint, if we're not being told, that would give me comfort. It should give everybody else comfort that you're not seeing leaks at this critical moment. One of the things that people should be looking at, go off the coast of California, Southern California. It is a picket line of ships up and down the coast. Anybody in California, all you got to do is go over to the beach and look. It's ships as far as the eye can see, to the left and to the right. Why? Because we have 3 aircraft carrier task forces deployed off the west coast of the United States. An aircraft carrier task force isn't just a couple of ships, it's 100 ships doing various types of support operations. You have 2 aircraft carrier task forces off the east coast of the United States, 200 ships. You have the Russian Navy is deployed all across Europe. They're fully at sea right now. Believe me, we're in a world level crisis situation, and everybody's on a hairpin trigger because they know that what's happening is not normal by any stretch of the imagination. And by the way, you know, I said it in the book. Let me just read something for you. You tell me, John, if this doesn't sound pretty doggone close to where we're at right now, 49. I wrote this, you know, I said it actually back in 2015 and 16. But this, you know, the book, this particular chapter is taken from a presentation I did about 2 years ago. But see if this doesn't sound kind of interesting, what's happening. This is just a paragraph on page 49, bottom of the page. We have a long road ahead, and I don't think Washington, D.C. can really be cleaned up. It can't be fixed because it's already fixed as a rigged game. My advice to President Trump has a nice ring to it, nice reverent ring to it. And by the way, I said this before he was even candidate Trump. I said this back before he even announced. I said, Trump should hire all his contractor buddies and have them get together as much fencing materials and heavy equipment as they can possibly muster. Then bring it all to D.C. under the protection of U.S. Marine Corps Guard units. Utilizing close-in air support, they should proceed to surround D.C. with multiple layers of chain link fence and concertina wire, like we did at the city of Fallujah in Iraq. Simultaneously, we need to have all available military and armored National Guard units surround the city at the Beltway. Have you seen what Washington, D.C. looks like right now?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what we have, isn't it? Let me just read this one other paragraph real quick. President Trump should also request that patriot citizens show up for this national effort with all the toilet bowl cleaner they can lay their hands on. After which, they'll provide that to the military guard units so that the cleaner can be dispersed into the soupy D.C. cauldron ASAP. God in his heaven knows it's going to take several flushes and plenty of Drano to clear those filthy pipes. All the while, we citizen soldiers will be keeping a sharp eye out for any of the blue-dyed toilet water and swamp creatures that might be attempting to escape through tunnels and coming out at strange places, some even hundreds of miles away. By now, many of you know about the underground tunnels, including the DUMBs, which is deep underground military bases, so that we are not dropping our guard. I say we carry out 40 days and 40 flushes. Hey, just to be sure, God knows, maybe the total flushes should be more like 41 or 44. We'll see.
Wow, Juan, You know, to our viewers that watch our show every day, I always say we don't know what we don't know. This is a clandestine military operation, and Juan has really, really, really just laid it out so well, because there's a lot of prominent figures, citizens out there now in various different interviews, and I think they, to an extent, were just addressed in Juan's explanation, taking my statement of we don't know what we don't know to on a need-to-know basis in great detail. That really should calm a lot of nerves out there. At the same time, raise those nerves, intensify those nerves a bit with the fleet of ships at the same time. But, you know, I want to just share this brief story.
Well, let me add one other thing, too.
Sure.
Cheyenne Mountain is still closed up tight as a drum. People that wonder, you know, where's the nuclear football? And hey, look, at all times, the nuclear football is just a handshake agreement. It is a legal checkpoint that a launch has been co-authored from the civilian side, the civilian authority, the head of which is the president, and that the president, being the commander-in-chief of the military, and also speaking for the civilian side, that if there's a launch need for authorization to go into some type of a conflict utilizing military nuclear weapons or WMDs of some sort, that the president then has signed off on that, and that's an agreement. But the reality is, even when in the football, you know, you push the big red button, the authorization code comes through, it's verified. Again, the actual launch procedures, deployment procedures, are done inside of these facilities. And those facilities haven't opened up into any other outside observers during this administration to this point in time, is our understanding. Now, it's a highly classified thing, but our understanding, nothing's been opened up. Nobody's going in there and second guessing anybody. And why is that? Because this attack that occurred against America, this digital cyber attack, and the results of it, at the point that civilian choices by Congress and by the courts to challenge the validity of this election result, this vote result, when they did not engage any of those options prior to noon on the 20th of January, then the ultimate authority fell to the last safety, which is the military safety. If the president is incapacitated in a time where we have a threat, where the missiles are flying and they can't get an answer from the president in time, the generals in charge of deploying those forces are required to make a decision and have the authority, the legal authority, go, no go at the critical moment. If they don't believe that the person at the other end of that line that would be agreeing or not agreeing is in fact the authorized authority or the president in reality, that they somehow are a Manchurian candidate even, they have the legal right and responsibility, go, no go, on their authority. So it is a handshake, and that's part of this conversation that people don't understand. And the military is very aware and had a legal precipice, which they passed at noon on the 20th of January, when all of the information, the Director of National Intelligence provided his report late, a month late, in fact, to President Trump and to Congress and to the various other authorities that are there for protection of the United States on the civilian side concerning foreign interference in our election process. When those civilian side persons, entities, groups, organizations didn't do anything to stop or challenge the outcome of the vote, that responsibility naturally fell to the military, which is the last checkpoint, the last safety in a multiple safety process. And then they have to make that assessment internally based on the available information. And I just have to tell you that the information is so grievous, so precise, right down to the serial numbers of every single device that was used in the voting process here in the country and how it was flipped and changed, that the military, while they're presenting a certain face to the world, has been doing that internal assessment, and it won't go on forever. And then there will be a moment, and suddenly everybody will realize, hey, they're not handing off. Well, they haven't handed off this far. Things don't look right because they aren't right, because it's not normal.
That's right.
Okay? It's happening that way for a reason. And there's a certain crowd who is a globalist, unite the world, protect us from the aliens and everything else, that believes that we need a whole planet running under one group or person's representative control for the whole planet. It's going to save us all. Wrong! That is a ploy to steal our freedom from us and put us under a global sovereignty. It's un-American, it's dangerous, and we're not settling for it. It's not happening.
That's right. So if I can repeat back in 3 bullets, if I understood correctly, for the benefit of myself and our audience, with regards to the theft of election and the theft of a country, we went to our system, and the system didn't listen to the cases or threw them out for technicalities and went against us. It failed us. We went to the courts. It failed us. Then it went to Congress, Pelosi, McConnell, and Pence specifically, and validated knowing an election that was knowingly rigged. It failed us there. And so the ultimate default is the military to protect and defend the Constitution, this country, against enemies, both foreign and domestic. And that, my friends, is why this is a covert military intelligence battle that we're engaged in. I want to share this brief story, Juan, and then maybe James has a question for you. A couple of weeks or a week or so before Biden was inaugurated into the defunct 1871 Situation U.S. Corporation. But before that inauguration, I was on the phone with you off air, and you said, sit down, take a deep breath, and I got to tell you something. And I said, what? And you said, Biden's going to be inaugurated. And thank goodness I was sitting down. And the first thing I said to you was, I said, well, then I think we've lost the battle. There's no way that victory can be ours if we do not have the military with us. And by Biden being president, I thought we would have lost that. And you said to me then, and of course now it's public knowledge, even Politico put it out, but you said it weeks before it happened. You also said, relax, John. He's not getting all the keys to the castle. So to our audience, 2 lessons here. 1, listen to Juan Savin. 2, and we're going to ask some questions about March and April and beyond to close out our show. And 2 is what Juan talked about before, and James has covered all these anomalies and oddities with regards to Biden and the White House that he's not in, and all this. Ask yourself a question if it seems uncertain, if we haven't shown you enough dots connecting. Think this through. Joe Biden is supposed to be president, but he doesn't get to fly on Air Force One. I just got to tell you something, folks. James, would you like to ask Juan a question or weigh in on some of these subjects, because you've been well versed in this as well?
Hey, Juan, I mean, last time I checked, Dover Air Force Base is in Delaware and has got a super long runway for the C-5s and C-17s and everything. Can't Biden fly Air Force One there?
Well, again, if you see something that's that obvious, let me take that same question and come at it from a different direction. Dance with the ones that brung you. A lot of people were upset, even people close to the president, and I understand their pain, and I'm not throwing any stones at them. These are true patriots. These are friends. These are great folks that have been in the room with the president, gave him good, sound advice of things that could be done to challenge this election result in time to do something. But let me ask you this. When the president didn't act on that advice, but he listened to all of it carefully, checking to make sure he hadn't missed anything, verifying the correctness of the data. When he didn't act, is that because he was defeated? He somehow has become feeble? He's somehow so weak-minded now that he just questions himself and his own family is against him and trying to get him to back down, and he's out of control. He's lost all of his wits that he's had from all those years in business, but gosh, now he's become Biden. He's indecisive and doesn't know what to do, and his advisors have all gone haywire on him. If that's the image that you have of President Trump, you probably didn't go to one of his rallies. You probably never listened to one of his rallies on TV. You weren't paying attention during all those news conferences on the COVID stuff, where he stay out there not for 5-10 minutes, not with a quick prepared statement, but fielding questions from reporter after reporter, challenging information, saying very complex statements and presentations from facts right off the top of his head. Do you actually, in your wildest imaginations, see that somewhere after the election, President Trump became a completely different person? Was this a body snatching thing? Did the aliens come and replace him somehow? No! Come on, man. Figure it out. This is Joe Namath. You're being played. This is the greatest quarterback in our era sitting there at the presidency, and he's fainting a limp, and his hand hurts, and he's got cold toes. Come on, man. There's something else going on. There's other plays in coming up. This is a chess match. This is Casino Royale for planet Earth. The same guy that brought you here. And then you got people that are, I hate Trump now because he wouldn't do a thing to fix this in time. Oh my gosh. Pray harder. And it's, at the end of the day, this is the part that I think people have to understand. It actually isn't even about President Trump. It's about you as a citizen. And that what you stand for and what you're going to hold for. It's like being deplatformed and you can't converse and all the people tearing it down. So what are we going to do? The big media is won. They're getting away with it. We can't do a thing. That's like saying, hey, the bank robbers, they got out of the bank with all the cash in the banks. And they still got their guns and they just got in the car and they're around the corner. And now we can't do a thing. They got away with it. Are you kidding me? Grow up. We're not giving them nothing. And as far as, you don't have to go tear a Capitol apart. We don't want to do any of that stuff. We don't need to. All we have to do is stand as a country. We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. All those tech guys, they can have digital money and digital banks all over the planet, and $1 billion here and $20 billion there, and I'm buying all this digital coin and everything else. What are they? They're just a vaporous paper tiger. America's still here. All the land is still here. All the people are still here. They're not taking over anything except what you give them in your own mind and heart and soul. Even the police officers, even the military people, excuse me, those are fellow citizens. At the end of the day, push comes to shove, when this all begins to shake out the rest of the way, I guarantee you, the real Americans will show up and they're not going along with any of that shit. But we're letting it play through. We're letting them have their day in the sun. We're letting them do all their BS. And then the other side of this whole case is going to be presented. And the defense is going to stand up. We're going to make our case. And it's not going to be to a crooked judge, a crooked Congress, a crooked Supreme Court, or a bunch of foreigners running the digital fake reality that's out there being presented as truth right now. It's going to be Americans showing up and saying no, and hell no. And we're not going by it. And if at the last checkpoint, if we're not getting the government that's doing what we're supposed to do, we just won't pay any more taxes to them. Not that that's legal the way it's being done right now anyway. We can shut this down, and the American people will come together. That's why they're cutting off your First Amendment rights. They don't want you talking to each other. They can't let you talk to each other. If we have to show up on the street, just like we did in Washington, D.C., you think that was an anomaly? We can have 100 million people show up in every capital in this country and make their case. And this time they won't go away. They won't tear anything down. They'll just stand there and be present. Just like we were in Washington, D.C. Saying there was a riot there, I was there. The people were singing church hymns. The people had their babies in their arms. They were pushing baby carriages. It's in the movie The Called that I did with Jennifer Mack. Go watch The Called, The Makings for a Perfect Day, and look at that crowd in the last 14 minutes of the video and tell me where the rioters are. Yeah, they got some video. It was staged. They had people that came in. They changed into their Trump stuff just outside, and then they came in. You had 500 riot police sitting just around the corner. They never moved. They didn't come in there to sort it out until it was already done. They knew this was going to happen. The president wasn't even done speaking. The president who supposedly incited this riot wasn't even done speaking when they went and did it. Why? Because they were on a timer. They were on a clock. They all synchronized watches and went and did it because they thought the president was supposed to start speaking 45 minutes before he did. So they synchronized watches, went in and did it like a military operation, the whole staged event. That's why we call it Popcorn Day. You're watching theater. Don't be fooled by the magician's trick. This is far from over, and all my bets for a year and a half have never, ever been based on President Trump being in office, sworn in on January 20th. I have always done my bets. I've said it 1,000 times. April 1st. And by April 1st, Trump is still president. And all those people who believed in the Democratic candidate that later became Biden or put their bets on him will be the fool for ever having sided with them. Those people are going to be, a year from now, my belief is you'll have a hard time finding anybody here in the country that will even admit that they ever voted for Joe fraudulent Biden.
Music to our ears. So this is a military intelligence operation. You've talked about before, and we've covered it to some extent, military codes. I guess there's 11.3 and 11.4 that are being implemented. And of course, the rest, as you stated before, you need to know. We don't know what we don't know. How do you see, in the 107 crystal ball, from the 40,000-foot view, how is March and the beginning of April play out for America? How do we restore this republic? Does Gitmo get involved? We can't get justice in the rigged system. So is it the tribunal courts? Is that how we command and see that 90% of the swamp officially gets exposed and gets their fair day in a military court? I mean, how do you see this playing out March 3rd, 4th through beginning of April?
Well, if you can't get to justice in the Justice Department, where are you going to go? If you got a crooked court, a crooked judge, a crooked prosecutor, they're twisting the facts to fit what they want to tell in a false narrative. You know, you got the mob running the court. The one thing I started to say, and I didn't finish it just a moment ago, at the end of the day, it's about the citizens showing up, but it's about some divine engagement here in America. The American people are not going to be able to get to justice all by themselves. There is an active God in here that I think at the end of the day, God himself, it was a very churched crowd, a very reverent, God-minded crowd. I'm not saying a particular religion. I'm saying that these were people looking to, some sort of religious freedom as a people. That's what the Constitution protects, First Amendment rights. So not just of speech, but of religion. And so they show up in Washington, D.C., put their feet on the ground, and then, you think God didn't hear them? These other people who we're playing against, it's even going to a real card game, Casino Royale. It's luck of the draw. You play the cards you have, you use your genius, you do whatever, but it's the end of the day, there's a certain, which angel put which card where, and which is the stronger angel, the good or the bad side. There's some kind of divine moment here where God will not share his glory, his protection, as having come from a man. It's not about Trump. It's not even just about the American people. This is the whole planet asking for divine intervention to protect us from a very dangerous, evil, sinister, enslaving crowd that wants to hold us in control at the planetary level. Get us all to agree to let just one person, which they control and own, to be over us and to manage us and to protect us and be our caretaker. Yeah, as they manage us all the way to the slaughter on the farm. No. And God himself will not be denied the opportunity to act on behalf of those people that came in a prayerful moment and asked for divine intervention, assistance, protection, strength. If you're feeling a little weak, if you don't get it, you're not sure, you're scared, and all your relatives are against you on this, well, maybe you ought to pray more, because this is that moment. As I said, when I did one of the shows I did with Jennifer Mack last spring, Choose This Day, I said America would have a near-death type experience in this election cycle. I said it as precisely as you can say it. We're having a near-death type experience. If you're feeling that, yeah, it feels real. People have had a near-death experience tell you it was more real than this reality they're in right now. They can smell every smell. They feel every tinge of pain or glory or happiness. Heavenly experience or a hellish experience. We are having a near-death hellish experience. You're seeing and feeling what it would be like to live under the control of these monsters that hate what America actually represents and stands for. That's what this is all about. That's the crisis that we're in. That's what we're fighting. And that's why if you aren't praying, then you don't get it. This could still go the other way. I say we got it. We got it because God's engaged and involved. But we have to stay in a prayerful mind. There's a lot at stake. Cheyenne Mountain is locked up tight as a drum for a reason. We are under a very direct, immediate, instant threat from outside forces who purport to be our friends and our enemies. Remember, where did the dossier come from before President Trump became President Trump when he was still a candidate? It was all over there in England, City of London. Okay, there's a financial crowd that wants to control who your president is. Where did Stroke and Page go to coordinate things? Where did Creamer, McCain's aide, go to get the dossier to bring back, to parade around to the media and into Congress to try and get Trump frozen out? That all came out of London, City of London.
Mm-hmm.
That Commonwealth operation wants to own the world against us. Oh, they're our friends. Why do you think President Trump stepped around the Queen and moved ahead? He was sending a signal. We're not going to be running around as your trailer. We don't honor the Queen. What's Bill Clinton's big thing? He's a Rhodes Scholar. Oh, that qualifies him to be president. Bull fucking shit. Rhodes Scholars are about bringing America back under British authority and rule because we're a rogue nation. They want us back under their control and operation. If the same thing is still in play right now, you have a bunch of people at the global level, globalists, who want to manage who our leaders are and how they operate and what they do. Because if you control America, it's our military that's running the world. It's our State Department that's out coordinating actions. It's our financial departments that are controlling all of these aid programs and other things. So you control us, you control what's going on in the rest of the world. You puppet us, you puppet our leaders, you can control the rest of the world. You're playing Casino Royale for the planet, and we're all in, and all the chips are on the table. And by the way, President Trump didn't roll up, roll away, disappear, give up. If you believe that, then you just got sold something that's exactly what he wants all of our enemies to believe. He's Joe Namath. He's about to launch one all the way to the other end of the field, and it's going to be glorious. Praise God. Pray. Trust the plan.
Beautiful. Juan O'Savin, kid by the side of the road. George Washington was divinely inspired, protected, and given wisdom to form this great nation. It's always been my belief and opinion, and you just fed to that view quite a bit, that Donald Trump and we the people of America and we the people of this world are being divinely inspired and protected to resurrect America and restore the Republic. And that's where we find ourselves, folks. This is the game of the ultimate game, and that's the way I see it. James, any closing comments before we close out with Juan?
I'm just going to agree with Juan entirely on the God aspect. Everyone has to know. We need proof. We need to see something. What does God actually challenge us in the book of James and in other books in the Old Testament, New Testament? What does God ultimately challenge us to do? To have faith. And what is required of having faith is letting go, right? Not being in control of the information. Letting go. Trust the plan. Absolutely, like you said. Having faith. That's what it's about to me.
Absolutely. And Q also said you will be safe, or our families will be safe, or something along those lines as well. So prayer is the mantra of the night, no question about it. Soundbite of the century is President Trump will be President Trump in April. And from now to then, stay safe is my suggestion to the American people, and have faith, trust the plan, and pray. And I want to thank Juan Savin. Thank you, sir, very much for being here, doing everything you've done for decades, everything you're doing right now, and all the best is yet to come with 107daily.com. Thanks for visiting with us, and appreciate your time.
And I apologize for being late. I'm traveling right now, and I didn't have good cell where I was at, and I apologize for that. But I appreciate you giving me a chance to share with your audience, and they're all very important. Be in prayer. Be safe. We got this. Deep breaths.
Beautiful. Thank you. Juan O'Savin, folks. We'll be right back.